way too close. You don't want to be that guy that cuts shit that close, because you're one cup of coffee away from failing if you're that close. You have a bad day, you're not going to make it. You should be able, when you're taking a PT test, you have your maximum time. You should be 2 or 3 minutes faster than that, and you don't have nothing to worry about. Don't be that old guy that just fucking, barely makes it, because that was me, and it wasn't pretty. All right, gentlemen, Terrence Popp here with another episode, live from the Lair. All right, these stories are between 2013 and 2018. Okay, they're not quite as dynamic as, the stories I had in my younger days, but it is what it is. The Army was good to me and basically allowed me to ride a desk for the last 10 years of my career. I got, fucked up really bad in Iraq, and then I got wounded in Panama in '89, and, that shit, catches up with you, But like I said before, it is what it is, I dealt with a lot of pain, and, I had to fucking suck it up. So this particular day, I just arrived at the 403rd, and I had been there like 2 weeks. Lo and behold, we're gonna have a PT test. Okay, this is like the end of August. All right, now I was doing my PT, and I was getting up to speed, and you don't want to show up at a duty station, be a senior enlisted NCO, and then fail your first fucking PT test. That's a wrong-go fucking bongo. So that was not going to happen. So, we jump on our civilian vehicles, drive out to this bird preserve, which is 6 miles away. Wasn't that far. And, we do the push-ups, the sit-ups, and the 2-mile run. So I line up for the 2-mile run. They basically blow the whistle, and they start the timer when the last guy crosses or leaves the starting line. So, they say go, and I run out, for about 200 meters relatively quickly. And then, since I got wounded in Iraq, I lost my, my 5th and 6th gear, which is overdrive gears. So the transmission no longer, went to those gears anymore. So I basically had to slow it down. And literally, I was tacking out my odometer, and everyone's flying by me, and I'm like, My last 6 years in the Army, my run, when I did my PT test every time, it just was not a pretty thing, man. A lot of that, breathing hard, yeah. And I remember I'm going out there, and I get to the turnaround point. I was like 8 minutes and like 20 seconds. I just basically got to hold this pace, and I'll have 16, 30, 17 minutes easy. I turned around and I ran for all I was fucking worth, man. I didn't hold anything back. And I came across the finish line with 21 seconds to spare. Way too close. Way too close. You don't want to be that guy that cuts shit that close, because you're one cup of coffee away from failing if you're that close. You have a bad day, you're not going to make it. You should be able, when you're taking a PT test, you have your maximum time. You should be 2 or 3 minutes faster than that, and you don't have nothing to worry about. Don't be that old guy that just fucking, barely makes it, because that was me, and it wasn't pretty. Now, I could have went on a permanent walking profile and did my PT that way, so I would do the push-ups, the sit-ups, and then I would walk like 2.5 miles for time. And I didn't want to do that either, because I'm old school. I didn't want to be on profile, and I just I just wasn't going to do it. Maybe it's a pride thing. Maybe I hurt myself more doing that. I don't know. But it had to fucking happen. Now, another thing that was really fucking with me when I first got there was I was nowhere near my family or my kids. My kids was the hardest part, being away from them, because that's just not cool. And it was fucked with my head a lot. I was dealing with some depression issues, and I had anxiety and stuff like that, and that was a tough nut to crack, man. And but like anything else, if you have the will, you'll find a way, and that's basically what I did. Now, when I left for New York, I was basically 195 pounds. Within 6 weeks of being in New York, I was 208. And one of the main reasons is because in the Utica Valley, there are all kinds of mom and pop pizza joints. And the pizza is fucking good. Okay? It was awesome. And I partook in too much pizza, and it caught up to me, and it blew up. Like right now, I'm walking around, I fluctuate between 212 and 225, but I have, I lift a lot more weights now, so I think at least 5 or 6 pounds of that is muscle, but I want to get back down to 200 to 190, right in that range, so that's what I'm going for right now. And it also didn't help, that I ate pizza and Subway. When I wasn't eating pizza, I was eating a Subway sandwich. And I would get up in the morning, jump in my car, roll down to Utica, pull over at the gas station right down from the Armory, pick up 2 Cracker Barrel cheeses, a water, and a sugar-free Red Bull. And then I would go to work. And I would munch on that for breakfast. For lunch, I would have like a handful of pistachios, maybe a yogurt, drink some more water, and then I would have usually the veggie patty sub at night from Subway. And, I was able to keep myself from blowing up too bad doing that, but I think that it was the pizza that got me. In Utica, there's a place known as Varick Street, where all the good bars are. And if there's any action to be had, it was in Utica on Varick Street. Now, I would go to this one, I think it was called the Celtic Harp. I think that's it. It was an Irish bar. And they have this chili there that's fucking awesome. And I would go in there every 7 to 10 days, and I would order a bowl of chili, and on the side I would have a mound of onions and a mound of cheese, and then I would have crackers or a roll and like a thing of light beer. And I would then take my food and I would go to the second floor up the stairs and sit up there and eat in peace, because they didn't really use that place. The upstairs wasn't closed, but it didn't get super busy until there was a lot of people in there, and some nights there was a lot of people in there. But they got so used to seeing me there that I would put my stuff up and I'd be carrying it up the stairs, and they'd be like, "Hey, Popp!" They would give me the controller to the TVs up there so I could watch 3 channels at a time if I wanted, because they had some really good channels that have boxing, MMA, or hockey going at the same time. And they were really good to me. I really can't complain. And I went on a couple of tours at the I can't remember the name of the beer, but it was literally like across the street and down a little bit, and that was really cool. It was the Utica Brewery. I don't know what it's called. I don't remember the name of it. But in the summertime, they would have live bands come, and everyone would show up there, and they would, serve beer, and people would watch the live bands. I thought that was pretty good. And those people in Utica know how to party. They party with the best of them. I never seen anyone, not handle their liquor well. I mean, there's some drinking fools out there, and fuck, dude, those are some good times. I'm gonna probably go down there and see my buddy Sport, and I'll try to time it so I'll go hang out there with him. But we'll see. And this is another thing I used to do is there was a gun club, the Ilion Gun Club, and it was maybe 5.5 miles outside the town of Ilion. You have to drive out of the the Mohawk Valley. The Utica Valley, Mohawk Valley. You got to drive kind of out of the valley, and it's up towards the top. And you pay your membership. They give you a key to the range, and there's unless it's a weekend, there's usually during the week there's nobody there. So I can't tell you how many times that I would get out of work and have a bad day. I'd be all stressed out. I'd have my fucking weapon in the trunk, some ammo. I didn't take anything crazy down there. I just had some 303 British rifles, 2 of them, and I had a Savage Tactical 308 with a first focal plane scope on it. It wouldn't even take that much to zero the 303s. I mean, all my weapons are pretty much dead on. But I would go out there and set up the target at 25 meters, and I'd shoot for groups, and then I'd walk out. I had steel plates, and I'd put a steel plate at 200 or 100, 200, and 300. It went back to 300. You could get 400, but you had to go back behind the firing line and get up on a tower and then shoot, and then that just didn't seem kosher to me because the condition of that particular tower wasn't good. And it was like total zen. I would go out there and go through all my basics of marksmanship and squeeze off between 30 or 50 rounds of 303. And let me tell you, it is very satisfying when you have a steel target at 300 meters, and I'm shooting basically a World War II era British rifle, and I'm hitting 10 out of 10 on a 1x1 steel plate. I thought that was pretty badass. I mean, I was getting groups about this big at 300, and about that at 2, and that at 1. So, I mean, I think the rifle was shooting like 1 minute of angle, maybe just shy of 1 minute of angle, which is pretty much all you're going to get out of an old rifle like that. Both of them are pretty good. And the reason I took those rifles out there is because New York passed all those crazy fucking, safe at gun laws and shit. And I just didn't want to have any problems, getting caught out on the range with a fucking assault rifle and not having a New York driver's license and then have to explain the whole fucking thing. And all I took out there was, those rifles, and then I believe I didn't even have a pistol at the time. I was considering bringing a revolver, my 7-shot Taurus Tracker 357, but I decided against it. Didn't want to get fucking any fucking trouble, so I was flying below the radar. But yeah, and then I would do that in the spring, summer, and part of the fall, and then in the winter, I had my reloader right there at the old Lair desk, and I would load 303 ammo, 500 to 600 rounds in the wintertime. So when spring came along, I had fresh reloads 174 grain boat tail hollow point bullets, and I usually ran 40 grains of IMR 4064, which was right to the top end of the pressure test, for that particular weapon. And then later on, I dialed it back to 38 grains just for consistency. And had a great time. I did that for 5 fucking years, And the 308 that I fired, I still have the brass, but I never reloaded any of that as of yet. I'm going to probably do that. On 2 different occasions, though, I show up at the range, and Remington would basically drive a whole truck of weapons up the hill, get on the range, and then they would test fire the weapons for like between 4 to 6 hours, which was pretty fucking cool because, they were doing it one day when I showed up there after work. I'm in uniform and they're like, "Oh man, the Army guy here." They let me shoot everything. It was fucking awesome. Wow. Those guys were great, and I'm sorry they're getting fucked with so bad in New York, and I hope they have better luck at their new plant. And anyone who sees this who lives in Ilion, my heart goes out to you. But leave New York State and follow the jobs and just go down there. If you're working for Remington, you got to do what you got to do. Life isn't fair and shit doesn't always work out. So you just got to do what you got to do. All right. There was a lot of times, in New York State where I was just bored out of my ever-loving fucking mind. It was crazy. A few times I broke down and I set up my Xbox and I replayed the Halo series. And, that helped kill a lot of the boredom, especially in the winter time, because there were some times where we get 3 or 4 feet of snow and there's no way I could get into work, because the roads aren't plowed and, shit's all fucking sideways. I stayed with Sportello for about 10 months. Then I went out and got a small little 1-bedroom apartment in Mohawk, which is like right next door to Ilion. And I had so much shit in there, it was like living in a Rubik's Cube. I had to move boxes and bags around to get stuff. The back bedroom was so full of shit that I couldn't even, it was just storage. All right, and I slept on a couch, and I had a TV, and then I had a bunch of like shelving like this in there. So literally, you had one little path to the kitchenette, and a little path to the bathroom, and the shower was like a little plastic fucking coffin where you just fucking got enough room to lather up, and I stayed there for about another year until I started noticing mold coming through the paint. Apparently, before I got there was a big flood, and the water got up to about 2.5 feet inside this place, and they didn't tear down the drywall. They didn't fucking do shit. So, luckily I was able to find a duplex, and I moved into that, and that was actually, my landlord was Sportello, Staff Sergeant Sportello, so I basically lived next door to him, which was a lifesaver for me, because whenever I fucking needed to talk about shit, or I was just fucking get a little stir crazy, I would go hang out with him, we'd go drive around town, and this guy has got a gift for gab, and he knows everybody, so it really saved my ass on that, it's all I could say. But the boredom was probably the worst thing about being stuck out there in upstate New York. And that, and the occasional run-in with the red trash. But and another weird thing, the women up there, for the most part, were not that good. There was a couple ladies that I ran around with that were one was nice as hell, and there was another one that was a lot younger than me. She was fairly attractive. There was a redhead involved because I'm a sucker for redheads. She was very attractive too. It was just weird. It was just weird, and like a lot of the women that I ran into there were just looking for the next husband, or they were just fucked in the head, and I wasn't red pilled. I didn't know anything about the red pilled MGTOW thing at that time. I was basically a men's rights activist. And that's pretty much how that whole thing fucking went down while I was there. Anyway, gentlemen, we're at 20 minutes. I know these are kind of boring, but, you know, life is fairly boring. Take it easy.
I'm a cowboy.